The city was still asleep when Maya's alarm shrieked at 5 a.m. She rubbed her eyes, already feeling the weight of yesterday's exhaustion in her bones. Outside, streetlights flickered like tired stars, and the soft hum of traffic promised another long day. Maya's apartment was small, just enough space for her and her daughter, Lily, who was still curled under a blanket, dreaming. Maya leaned over the crib, brushing a loose strand of hair from her daughter's face. "Mommy's going to work, baby," she whispered. "Be good, okay?" The words felt hollow even as she spoke them. She wasn't just going to work, she was running a marathon she hadn't signed up for. 2 jobs, little sleep, endless bills, and yet, the sparkle in Lily's eyes gave her strength she didn't know she had. Today, like every day, she would do whatever it took. Maya dressed quickly, trying not to wake Lily. Every sound seemed amplified in the small apartment, the hum of the fridge, the creak of the wooden floor, even the soft breathing of her daughter. Her life hadn't always been like this. There had been a time of hope, laughter, and dreams that didn't revolve around bills and shifts. But 3 years ago, her husband had left, disappearing into a world she couldn't reach. He left behind debts, a cold apartment, and a little girl who didn't understand why her dad wasn't coming home. Maya's hands trembled slightly as she packed Lily's lunch. Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, a small apple, a note she wrote every morning: "You are braver than you think, stronger than you know, and loved more than you'll ever realize." She pressed it into the lunchbox, kissed it gently, and placed it in Lily's tiny backpack. By the time she left, the sky was tinged with pink, the city slowly waking. Maya walked the half-mile to the bus stop, each step heavy but resolute. She knew the world wouldn't wait for her exhaustion to catch up. Her first job was at the downtown hospital, where the sterile smell of disinfectant greeted her like an unwelcome friend. Maya changed into her scrubs, her movements automatic. She had done this for years, tending to patients, comforting the anxious, cleaning up what others didn't want to see. Mrs. Thompson, a frail woman recovering from surgery, smiled at Maya. "You always bring calm with you," she said, reaching for her hand. Maya smiled back, though inside, she felt the fatigue pressing on her chest. "Just doing my job, ma'am," she said. Hours passed in a blur. She rushed between patients, administered medications, wiped tears, and answered endless questions. At noon, she barely had time to eat the sandwich she brought. The hospital clock ticked loudly in her ears, marking time she couldn't afford to waste. And then came the moment she always feared, the phone call from the landlord. Another overdue bill. Another reminder that her life wasn't just about her own exhaustion, it was about survival. Yet even in that chaos, Maya thought of Lily. The way her little hands clutched hers, the way her laughter lit up the darkest days. That thought alone kept her moving, kept her hands steady even when her body threatened to give out. By 2 p.m., Maya had barely finished her shift. She changed quickly, grabbing a bottle of water and a granola bar, and caught the bus to her second job, a diner on the other side of the city. The diner was a different kind of battlefield. Here, the customers demanded smiles, patience, and charm, often without understanding the exhaustion behind her eyes. She balanced plates, took orders, and forced her voice to sound cheerful, even when her legs felt like lead. One rude customer complained about a delay. Maya nodded, apologizing with a smile she didn't feel. Later, she wiped her hands on her apron and allowed herself a single moment of despair behind the counter. The diner smelled of fried food and coffee, a stark contrast to the sterile hospital air, but the fatigue was universal. Her coworkers noticed, but no one truly understood. They saw the long hours, the tired eyes, the small mistakes, but they didn't see the why. The reason Maya kept moving, kept smiling, kept fighting: Lily. By the time Maya returned home, the city was dark. Streetlights cast long shadows, and the hum of cars was replaced by the occasional bark of a dog or the distant siren. She opened the apartment door to find Lily asleep, curled in a ball, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Maya's heart ached with both exhaustion and love. She sat on the floor, letting the tears come quietly, unobserved. These were tears of relief, of exhaustion, of gratitude that her daughter was safe, warm, and blissfully unaware of the sacrifices being made for her happiness. After a moment, she brushed the hair from Lily's face, whispered goodnight again, and prepared for the next day. Tomorrow would be just like today, 2 jobs, no rest, endless sacrifice. But she would do it. She had no choice. She had everything to fight for. And in that small apartment, amidst the quiet and the shadows, Maya found her strength again. Little did Maya know, her life was about to take a turn. A single act of kindness, or a single misstep, would set the stage for challenges she never saw coming, and a moment that could change everything. The diner smelled of frying oil and stale coffee, a sharp contrast to the hospital's antiseptic scent. Maya tied her apron, her hands still trembling slightly from fatigue, and plastered a smile on her face. Customers had already begun to trickle in, hungry, tired, impatient. They didn't know she had been on her feet for nearly 12 hours. Behind her smile, exhaustion pressed on her chest like a heavy stone. Every muscle in her body screamed for rest, yet she moved with precision, taking orders, balancing trays, pouring coffee. Each action was automatic, trained by months of survival. As she refilled ketchup bottles and wiped down counters, her mind wandered to Lily. What was she doing now? Was she studying her spelling words, or asleep, dreaming of a world her mother was too tired to imagine? Maya's heart tightened. She couldn't fail her, not ever. The diner was bustling by 3 p.m., and by 4, it felt like a small storm had blown in. Plates clattered, voices overlapped, and Maya moved through the chaos like a dancer in slow motion. A table of 3 teenagers complained loudly about the temperature of their food. Maya apologized, smiling, and remade their order. She nodded to her co-workers, who silently acknowledged the struggle, but didn't ask questions. No one ever asked. In between tables, Maya sneaked a granola bar, chewing quickly, trying to ignore the ache in her stomach. Her hands were calloused, her feet blistered from standing for 12 hours straight, but she reminded herself, every moment was for Lily. A small boy tugged on her apron. "Miss, can I have more ketchup?" Maya knelt and gave him a smile. "Of course, sweetheart." His smile was brief, but genuine. It reminded her of her own daughter and gave her a spark of warmth amid the exhaustion. As she wiped down a table, Maya's mind drifted to the past, back to when life had been different. Before the bills, the shifts, the exhaustion, there had been laughter, love, and promises. Her husband, David, had been kind, ambitious, and charming. But life had other plans. One night, a heated argument, a slammed door, and then silence. David left, taking not only his presence but his support. The apartment felt emptier, colder, and Maya's dreams shrank to a single purpose, keeping Lily safe and happy. She shook off the memories, pushing herself back into the present. There was no room for sorrow now. She had plates to carry, orders to take, and a little girl waiting at home for a mother who refused to quit. By 6 p.m., Maya was struggling to keep her eyes open. The diner's fluorescent lights seemed to hum in rhythm with her heartbeat. She leaned on the counter for a moment, closing her eyes, only to be startled by the clatter of a dropped tray. Her manager approached. "You okay?" he asked, genuine concern in his voice. Maya nodded, forcing a grin. "Just tired. 2 jobs, not much sleep." He frowned but said nothing. Few people truly understood. Maya continued, moving from table to table, serving with a practiced cheerfulness that masked her exhaustion. A young couple at a corner booth looked at her with curiosity. "Are you a student?" the man asked, noting her weary smile. Maya laughed softly. "No, just a mom who doesn't sleep much." The couple exchanged glances, then smiled warmly. It was small moments like these that kept Maya going, the recognition that someone, somewhere, noticed her struggle, even if only briefly. Back at her apartment, Lily was still awake when Maya finally returned. She found her daughter at the small desk, coloring a picture. "Hi, baby," Maya whispered, voice soft, tired. Lily looked up, eyes bright. "Mommy." "I drew us," she said, holding up a crayon sketch of the two of them, smiling in a park. Maya felt tears prick at her eyes. "It's beautiful," she said, hugging her tightly. They ate a small dinner together, laughter mingling with exhaustion. Lily spoke about her day, her friends, her teacher, the spelling test she had aced. Maya listened, nodding, smiling, while inside, a storm of worry and fatigue raged. Once Lily was tucked into bed, Maya allowed herself a moment alone. She sank into the small armchair, rubbing her eyes, letting tears flow quietly. "One day," she whispered, "we'll be free of all this. I promise." Maya looked around the apartment, small and cramped, evidence of the long battle she fought daily. Laundry baskets overflowed, bills lay stacked on the counter, and the fridge hummed quietly, mostly empty. She reflected on her sacrifices, every hour worked, every meal skipped, every tear hidden. It was all for Lily. The thought gave her purpose, though it came with exhaustion that never seemed to leave. And yet, she knew tomorrow would be the same: early rise, hospital shift, diner shift, sleepless night, repeat. But she would do it. She had no other choice. Lily's happiness depended on it. As Maya drifted into a brief sleep, a sound from outside caught her ear, a faint knock at the apartment door. She froze, unsure who it could be at this hour. Little did she know, this knock would mark the beginning of a change she never expected, and a chain of events that could alter both her life and Lily's forever. The morning sun poured through the narrow blinds of Maya's apartment, catching dust motes like tiny sparks of hope. She stretched, feeling the familiar ache in her back and shoulders, but a new determination glimmered in her chest. Yesterday's mysterious knock still lingered in her mind, but there was no time to dwell. Lily needed breakfast, lunch packed, and a mother who could pretend she hadn't slept only a few hours. Maya glanced at the stack of bills on the counter, a reminder that life never paused, never waited. Rent, electricity, groceries, school supplies, all waiting to be conquered. She took a deep breath, adjusted Lily's backpack, and whispered, "Let's face another day, baby." For Maya, each day was a battle, each small victory a reminder that love could outshine even the heaviest burden. Maya's day began as always, scrambling eggs for Lily, packing her lunch, and checking homework before the bus arrived. She smiled, hiding her exhaustion, answering Lily's endless questions about math and spelling. As Lily waved goodbye, Maya felt a pang of worry. What if she couldn't pay the water bill this month? What if the diner boss asked her to leave because she was too tired to keep pace? The thoughts pressed on her, but she pushed them aside. Worrying wouldn't solve anything, action would. Her first stop was the hospital, where long shifts tested both her body and patience. She patched wounds, comforted crying patients, and dealt with irritable coworkers. But a small moment of recognition reminded her why she kept going. "Thanks for your help, Maya," said a patient's family member. "You make a difference." Maya's lips curled in a tired smile. Difference or not, it was enough to fuel her for the next few hours. At the hospital, Maya received news that made her heart sink. Her electricity bill had increased unexpectedly. Another unexpected cost meant another late-night shift at the diner, another day without rest. A new nurse, Jessica, seemed determined to make Maya's life harder. "You're working too much," Jessica whispered during a break, her tone sharp. "It's not healthy. You'll burn out." Maya clenched her jaw but remained polite. "I have to take care of my daughter. That's all that matters." Jessica scoffed but left her alone. Maya returned to her patients, her mind focused but heavy. She couldn't afford to slow down, not even for a moment. Later, a patient, Mr. Alvarez, spoke directly to her. "I can see how tired you are, Maya. You're doing too much for one person." Her heart ached at the words. She knew he was right, but what choice did she have? For Lily, there was no alternative. Even amidst chaos, Maya found tiny victories. A coworker complimented her on handling a difficult patient with calm and kindness. The diner manager allowed her to leave 5 minutes early one night, understanding her struggle. Lily had a perfect score on her spelling test, proudly showing Maya the paper. "I did it for you, Mommy," she said. Maya's heart swelled. Every smile, every achievement, every "I love you" from Lily was a small victory worth more than any paycheck. Maya also discovered a small community group online for single mothers, where she found advice, support, and even some local people offering temporary help with groceries. For the first time, she felt a spark of hope, proof that she wasn't completely alone in the battle. But the strain weighed heavily on her. There were nights when she couldn't sleep, not because of noise, not because of worry about work, but because she was too tired to think clearly. Her body hurt in ways she hadn't felt before. Her hands, rough from hospital work and diner shifts, seemed to carry the weight of the world. Maya sat in the diner's back room one evening, head in hands, silently crying. She thought of Lily, dreaming peacefully at home. She whispered into the empty room, "I'm sorry, baby. I'm doing everything I can." A coworker, noticing the tear-streaked face, offered her a water bottle and a silent pat on the shoulder. No words were needed, the gesture said it all. Maya took a deep breath and stood tall again. Tomorrow would be the same battle, but she would face it. One afternoon, a young journalist came to the diner, asking to interview Maya. He had heard whispers of a mother working tirelessly to support her daughter. At first, Maya hesitated. She didn't want attention, she only wanted to survive. But as she spoke, sharing bits of her story, the journalist's eyes widened. He promised to tell it respectfully, to show the world a mother who refused to give up. Maya nodded, unsure if the world was ready to see her struggle, but a small hope stirred inside her. She returned home that night to Lily, carrying a small bouquet of wildflowers Lily had picked herself. "For you, Mommy," Lily said, smiling. Maya held the flowers close, tears slipping down her cheeks. Amid the struggles, the fatigue, the unending work, moments like this reminded her why she never quit. As Maya prepared for bed, she noticed an envelope slipped under her apartment door. Curious, she opened it. Inside was a note. "You are stronger than you know. Someone sees you. Someone cares." No signature. No explanation. Just a reminder that her sacrifices were not invisible. Maya clutched the note, her mind racing. Who could it be? And why now? She looked at Lily sleeping peacefully, her heart swelling with love and worry. The day had ended, but tomorrow would bring new challenges, and perhaps, answers she had been waiting for. Maya didn't know it yet, but her life was on the brink of change. A single note, a single act of observation, would set in motion events that could transform her world, forever. The first rays of sunlight crept into Maya's apartment, but instead of hope, they brought a sharp reminder of exhaustion. Her body ached in ways she hadn't admitted to anyone, and her eyelids felt heavy before they even fully opened. Lily was asleep, clutching her stuffed rabbit, innocent and unaware of the storm brewing in her mother's life. Maya stared at her, silently promising herself that no matter what, Lily would never know the full weight of her struggle. But today felt different. A dull, persistent pain throbbed in her side, a reminder that her body could only endure so much. Every movement was laborious, every step heavy. She knew she couldn't slow down, couldn't rest, but for the first time, fear crept into her heart. What if exhaustion finally caught up with her? Maya arrived at the hospital as usual, forcing a smile at her colleagues. But the sterile walls and antiseptic smell were harsher than usual. Her movements, usually precise, felt sluggish. A patient complained about a mistake she hadn't made, and Maya's hands shook slightly as she corrected it. In the break room, she leaned against the counter, fighting dizziness. A nurse noticed. "Maya, are you okay?" "You look pale," said Nurse Angela. "I'm fine," Maya lied, brushing it off with a weak smile. "Just tired." Tired didn't cover it. She was exhausted, physically and mentally drained, and yet there was no choice to rest. Bills had to be paid. Lily had to eat. Someone had to keep going. By midday, she felt a sharp pain in her chest. Fear prickled her mind, but she swallowed it down, determined to continue her rounds. Every patient, every step, every gesture required an effort she didn't have, but she forced herself through it anyway. The diner's shift later that evening pushed her to the edge. Her hands trembled as she carried a tray of drinks. Her vision blurred slightly. A customer snapped at her for a spilled soda, and something inside her cracked. In the kitchen, she sank to the floor, tears streaming silently. Exhaustion, fear, and frustration collided. I can't keep doing this," she whispered, burying her face in her hands. She thought of Lily. Of the small face that looked up at her every morning with trust and love. And she knew she couldn't quit. Couldn't let her daughter see weakness. Not like this. A co-worker, Mark, found her sitting on the floor, silently sobbing. He didn't ask questions, just offered a blanket and a glass of water. The simple act reminded her that even in her lowest moments, there was humanity. That night, Maya returned home and collapsed onto the couch instead of waking Lily. Her side ached sharply, and her breathing was uneven. She knew she needed rest, but she couldn't fully relax. She replayed the day in her mind, the mistakes, the snapped voices, the pain. Her phone buzzed with another bill reminder. It felt like the universe was testing her, pushing her to her limit. Lily stirred in her sleep, murmuring softly. Maya stroked her hair, whispering promises that she couldn't fully keep. "Mommy will always be okay, baby. I promise." As she finally drifted into a fitful sleep, the doorbell rang. Unexpected, at this hour. Maya froze, heart racing. Opening the door, Maya found a man standing there, early 30s, kind eyes, holding an envelope. "Are you Maya?" he asked gently. "Yes," Maya's voice shook. "Who are you?" "My name is Ethan," he said. "I've been trying to reach you. I know what you've been doing for your daughter. People are noticing. You're not invisible anymore." Maya stared, confused and wary. "I don't need attention. I need to survive." Ethan smiled softly. "This isn't about fame. It's about support. Someone saw your struggle, and we want to help. But you have to let yourself accept it." Maya felt a surge of conflicting emotions, relief, fear, disbelief. She had spent years alone, fighting a battle that no one else understood. Could she trust this stranger? Could she finally allow herself to lean on someone? She looked at Lily sleeping soundly inside. Maybe she could. For the first time in months, Maya allowed herself to breathe. She sat on the couch, holding the envelope Ethan had given her. Inside were letters from people who had heard her story, small donations, notes of encouragement, and messages saying she was seen, appreciated, and loved. Tears streamed down her face, not from exhaustion alone, but from relief. Maybe the universe wasn't entirely cruel. Maybe there were people out there willing to help, to lift her up instead of letting her carry the world alone. Maya whispered softly to herself, tomorrow, we start again. But maybe, not alone." As she prepared for bed, Maya heard a knock again, familiar, insistent. This time, she didn't hesitate. She opened the door to find Ethan waiting, smiling warmly. "I think it's time we talk about real help," he said. "You've done enough alone. Let us help you." Maya's heart raced. This could change everything. Her world had been all struggle, all sacrifice, all hidden tears. And now, finally, an opportunity for relief, for hope, for a chance to breathe. She looked back at Lily sleeping peacefully and knew what her answer had to be. "Yes," she whispered, voice trembling. "Yes, I'll accept help." The night held a strange quiet, one of possibilities, of hope, and the first signs of a life that could finally be more than endless struggle. Maya's life was about to transform. But change comes with challenges, and the road ahead would test her in ways she had never imagined. One decision, accepting help, would ripple through her world, bringing both hope and unexpected obstacles. The next morning, Maya woke up feeling lighter than she had in months. Not fully free from fatigue, but the knowledge that someone outside her tiny apartment, cared, gave her a spark of hope. Lily, as always, bounded out of bed, her energy seemingly endless. "Mommy. Did you sleep well?" she asked. Maya smiled, ruffling her daughter's hair. "Yes, baby. I did." The envelope Ethan had left lay on the counter, filled with letters, notes, and donations from strangers who had witnessed her struggle. Maya didn't understand how the world had noticed, but she did understand one thing: she no longer had to fight entirely alone. Today, she would continue her work, but differently. Today, she would accept support, and discover that hope could grow even in the most exhausted hearts. At the hospital, Maya felt the difference immediately. Patients and coworkers seemed warmer, gentler. Some had heard of her story through local news or social media shares. One patient, a young mother, approached Maya nervously. "I read about you," she said softly. "I just want to say, thank you. You're inspiring. And if you ever need anything, please tell me." Maya felt a lump in her throat. For years, she had fought alone, believing no one would ever understand the weight of her life. Now, strangers offered kind words, small gestures of support, and it reminded her that hope was not gone, it had just been waiting. Her diner shift that night felt different too. Regular customers approached her gently, leaving tips with notes like, "You are seen. Thank you." Each gesture, small but powerful, slowly began to heal the invisible cracks fatigue had left in her spirit. Ethan visited again that evening, bringing a small gift for Lily, a set of books he thought she'd enjoy. "Mommy. Thank you." Lily squealed, hugging the books tightly. Maya smiled at Ethan, grateful but unsure how to voice the depth of her gratitude. "You don't have to say anything," he said softly. "Just keep being you. We're here to help, not judge." Maya realized she had been carrying the world alone for too long. Accepting help wasn't weakness, it was survival. And maybe, just maybe, it was time to trust others with the weight she'd shouldered for years. That night, she tucked Lily into bed, lingering to watch her daughter sleep. The tiny apartment, though still cluttered and cramped, felt brighter. There was a sense of possibility now, a whisper that life could change for the better. Word of Maya's story spread through the local neighborhood. Neighbors left groceries at her doorstep, a school teacher offered extra tutoring for Lily, and a local charity organization reached out with assistance for rent and utilities. At first, Maya hesitated, unused to this level of attention. She had spent years avoiding pity, silently battling life's challenges without asking for help. But one by one, she accepted small acts of support, realizing that accepting help did not diminish her strength, it enhanced it. For the first time, she allowed herself to imagine a future that wasn't dictated solely by struggle. Maybe Lily could have extra classes, maybe they could afford small joys, maybe life could feel lighter. One quiet evening, Maya sat on the small balcony of her apartment. The city lights shimmered in the distance. She held the letters and notes close, reading them again. Each one told the same thing: you are seen. You are appreciated. You are not alone. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She thought of all the nights she had cried alone, of all the days she had forced herself to smile despite exhaustion. And now, for the first time, she realized something she hadn't allowed herself to believe in years: maybe her sacrifices had meaning beyond survival. Maybe they had inspired others. Maya whispered to herself, "I can do this, we can do this, Lily." The next few days became a turning point. Maya received a small grant from a local charity, enough to catch up on bills. Her diner shift became less of a nightmare, thanks to understanding coworkers. Even at the hospital, her supervisors began praising her dedication openly. Lily noticed the change too. She still asked her mother questions about school and homework, but now she also asked about happy things, like weekend plans or stories about kind strangers. Maya laughed more, smiled more, and, most importantly, felt lighter. The small victories continued, like dominoes falling in sequence. Each act of support, each kind gesture, each little success reminded Maya that she wasn't alone anymore. Just as Maya began to believe that life might finally have a moment of calm, a message appeared on her phone. "We need you to speak about your story publicly. People are inspired. You can help more families like yours." Maya stared at the screen, heart racing. Sharing her story on a larger stage could amplify hope, but it could also open doors to scrutiny, criticism, and exposure she had spent years avoiding. She looked at Lily, sleeping peacefully, and made a quiet decision. "If this can help others, then I will do it," she whispered. Little did she know, this decision would lead to challenges and opportunities that would test her resilience in ways she had never imagined. Ethan arrived that morning with a camera crew, ready to document Maya's story respectfully. "You don't have to do anything you're uncomfortable with," he reassured her. Maya nodded, heart pounding. She had spent years in the shadows, working 2 jobs, hiding exhaustion and tears. Now, she would let the world see the reality she had lived every single day. The filming began with small interviews. Maya talked about Lily, about the struggles of a single mother, about the nights spent crying alone and the mornings spent fighting exhaustion. Every word carried weight, every pause full of emotion. Lily peeked at the camera, smiling shyly. "That's Mommy," she whispered proudly. Maya felt her heart swell. This was more than exposure, it was the acknowledgement of every hardship she had endured. Within hours of posting online, Maya's story spread like wildfire. Messages flooded her inbox, parents offering support, strangers sending donations, and even celebrities sharing her story. The world was finally seeing what Maya had been carrying alone for so long. Yet, the attention was overwhelming. Notifications, emails, and messages left her dizzy, reminding her that even recognition could come with stress. Still, she persisted. Every message of encouragement, every donation, every comment reinforced her purpose. Maya began to understand something crucial: her struggles, once hidden, could now inspire change and hope for others in similar situations. Despite the growing attention, Maya remained grounded. She still worked her hospital and diner shifts, though now she allowed herself small breaks she hadn't permitted before. Ethan helped organize support from community organizations, volunteers, and neighbors. Lily noticed the change, too. "Mommy, people love your story," she said, hugging Maya tightly. "Yes, baby," Maya replied, smiling through exhaustion. "But the most important thing is that we stay together, safe and happy." The challenge was clear: how to manage recognition, opportunities, and responsibilities without losing herself or Lily. Every step forward required careful balance. Soon, local schools invited Maya to speak about her journey, charities asked her to mentor other single mothers, and small organizations sought her advice. While opportunities brought hope, they also brought scrutiny. Questions about her life, criticism from strangers online, and personal attacks emerged. Maya had never faced public judgment, and it tested her resilience. One evening, after a particularly long day, she sat in the empty apartment, Lily asleep beside her, and whispered, "I'm scared, but we can do this." She realized that public recognition came with responsibility. Every decision could impact her daughter, her safety, and her newfound influence. Yet the thought of helping others, of using her experience to inspire change, kept her moving forward. Despite the challenges, small victories kept her hope alive. Donations allowed her to pay off past bills and secure a safer apartment. Ethan and volunteers helped set up tutoring programs for Lily and other children. Maya even received a small award from the city recognizing her resilience and dedication as a single mother. Standing on the stage, holding the certificate, she felt tears prick her eyes. The applause wasn't just for her, it was for every mother struggling in silence, for every child growing up with uncertainty, for every unseen sacrifice. Just as Maya began to feel a sense of stability, a sudden email appeared. "A national news network wants to feature your story. It could make you famous across the country, but it will also bring exposure you've never dealt with. Are you ready?" Maya stared at the screen, heart racing. Fame, opportunity, and scrutiny, all in one decision. She looked at Lily, peacefully sleeping, and realized that the answer had to consider not just her future, but her daughter's safety and happiness. She took a deep breath and whispered, "We'll face this together." But little did she know, national attention would test her in ways she had never imagined, pushing her strength, patience, and heart to the absolute limit. The morning sun streamed through the windows of Maya's new apartment, casting golden light across the room. For the first time in years, she felt something that had been foreign: relief. The stress, the endless exhaustion, the constant fear, had all been tempered by the support she had received. Lily bounded into the living room, clutching her new schoolbooks, and grinned. "Mommy! Look what I got." Maya smiled, tears forming at the corners of her eyes. Every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every shift she had endured, all of it had led to this moment. But today would bring challenges too. National attention, new responsibilities, and high expectations could overwhelm her, but she knew one thing: she had faced far worse and emerged stronger. Today, Maya's story wasn't just about struggle, it was about triumph, love, and the power of never giving up. The national news feature aired, capturing Maya's story across the country. Images of her smiling at the diner, holding Lily, working at the hospital, touched millions. Messages flooded in from people inspired to support single mothers, volunteer at local charities, or simply express gratitude. Maya watched the segment with Ethan and Lily, holding her daughter close. "Mommy, look. Everyone loves your story." Lily squealed. "Yes, baby," Maya whispered. "But remember, the most important thing is that we stay together and take care of each other." Despite the attention, Maya stayed grounded. She met with local organizations, offered advice to struggling mothers, and helped set up programs for children like Lily. The recognition wasn't for fame, it was for change. Even with success came obstacles. Critics online questioned her parenting choices, her career decisions, and her acceptance of public support. Some viewers assumed her life was now perfect and dismissed the ongoing struggles she still faced. Maya struggled at times, feeling vulnerable under the public eye. But every time doubt crept in, she thought of Lily, sleeping peacefully at home, and of the mothers who had reached out to her, inspired to continue their fight. She realized fame wasn't just attention, it was responsibility. A responsibility to speak honestly, to support others, and to ensure that every action was guided by love, not vanity. Lily's life blossomed alongside Maya's journey. She received additional tutoring and excelled in school, her confidence growing each day. Maya watched her daughter navigate challenges with determination, a reflection of the resilience her mother had modeled. One evening, Lily came home clutching a certificate. "Mommy! I won first place in the art contest," she exclaimed. Maya hugged her tightly, tears streaming. "I'm so proud of you, baby. You've worked so hard, and you never gave up, just like your mommy." The moment encapsulated everything Maya had fought for: Lily's happiness, safety, and ability to dream beyond their hardships. Maya began organizing community events, fundraisers, and mentoring programs for single mothers and children in need. She wanted to ensure that the help she had received could ripple outward, creating opportunities for others. The neighborhood, once indifferent, now rallied around her. Volunteers helped with tutoring, groceries, and childcare, forming a support system that Maya had only dreamed of years ago. For the first time, she felt a sense of stability, not just financial, but emotional. The years of struggle had forged her into someone capable of inspiring change, and now she could extend that power to others. One quiet evening, Maya sat on the balcony, looking out over the city. Lights twinkled below, and the hum of life reminded her how far she had come. She thought of the nights she had cried alone, the shifts she had endured, the exhaustion that had felt endless. And yet, through it all, she had never given up. She had faced fear, uncertainty, and loneliness, and emerged stronger. Holding Lily close, she whispered, "We made it, baby. All those nights, all the struggles, we made it." For the first time, Maya allowed herself to feel proud, not guilty for receiving help, not anxious about the future, just proud of what she and Lily had achieved together. The final weeks of her journey brought a sense of fulfillment. Maya and Lily moved into a more comfortable apartment, bills were managed, and the community support network thrived. Ethan remained a supportive presence, though Maya's independence and resilience kept her grounded. Her story continued to inspire thousands, but for Maya, the true victory was personal, seeing Lily happy, secure, and thriving. On a Sunday morning, Maya and Lily walked through a park, holding hands, laughing, free from the constant stress that had defined their past. Maya felt a warmth in her heart, a sense of peace earned through perseverance, love, and sacrifice. This was the life she had fought for. Not perfect, but real, joyful, and full of hope. Maya knelt beside Lily, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Baby," she said, "remember that life will always have challenges, but love, courage, and never giving up, those things will carry you through anything." Lily smiled, holding her mother's hand. "I will, Mommy. Just like you did." Maya laughed softly, hugging her daughter tightly. Years of struggle, tears, and sacrifice had led to this moment, a life rebuilt on hope, courage, and the unbreakable bond between mother and child. And as the sun dipped low, casting golden light over the city, Maya knew one truth: no obstacle was too great when love fueled every step. The story of a mother who worked tirelessly, who sacrificed everything for her daughter, had reached the hearts of millions. But for Maya, the greatest victory was simple, eternal, and profoundly human: the smile of her daughter, and the knowledge that they had endured, and thrived, together.